The Walking Heads of Easter Island. My name is Bill. Welcome to the NightTerrors Weekend Show, and we're starting right now. If you value what I do on the channel, one way to support Night Terrors is through Patreon. Become a patron of the show by clicking on the Patreon link in the description below. Thanks for supporting the show. Welcome to Eldergone and T Plateau. Welcome to Gotcha Man. We're going to start off a little bit unusually today because today in the mail, we're going to do a live mail opening. I received T Plateau's package. Welcome to It's Lynn's. Viewer mail, that is correct, G-Man. Welcome to Eli, who says good evening. Welcome, Eli. Rockers to Rockers is here. Welcome, Rockers. It's viewer mail. Oh, I have a special cam here. I have to keep my eye on the screen at the same time. Let's do it. Hoping you can hear me. Yep, I can see the audio there. We're going to open this package from T Plateau at this time. I better move my keyboard first. Welcome to Jordan Cogburn. Jordan got his notification at last. We're going to be opening some viewer mail. Drum roll, says Rockers. Thank you, Rockers. Jordan misses movie night. I do too, buddy. So busy these days. I had to eliminate the Wednesday show. All right, that might work. I think we've done everything we're supposed to do on the checklist. I think we're still here. Yeah, we're still here. All right, let's open up this puppy. This is from Australia. From T Plateau. Welcome to Shane Riley. Opening mail from Australia today to start off the show. Welcome to Taoist Viewer. These shears were a wedding gift to my wife. Boy, that's a thick package. Recycled padded bag. Australia Recycles. Let me see if I can get one in here. I don't want to cut anything in here. There's a lot of fabric stuff in here. I have a feeling. I'm going to cut it very close to the edge. Welcome to Ryu 1972. This is mail from Australia. We're opening right now. From Takahama Plateau. All right. Welcome, Ethereal Warrior. It's a live koala bear, says Gotcha Man. Ah! Oh, wow. Double wrapped. Ooh. You notice I don't have a tie on because it said on the outside of the box that there was one in the package. That looks like it. Oh, wow. Look at this cool stuff. What is this? Oh, it said metal plate. No kidding. That's cute. Thank you, Eldergrown. Where'd that keyboard go? It's way over there. I can hit the enter button now. There we go. Jordan Cogburn always wanted his own thick package. I know how you feel, buddy. Welcome to Verpine. Good to see you, pal. We're doing an opening of Australian mail from T Plateau. Australia. Ooh, oh, that's gorgeous. I don't know if you guys can see that. Hopefully this triggers the focus. T Plateau says, I really wrapped it right. Metal plate with display stand. Oh, it's from Perth. It's a Perth image. Nice. Thank you, Eldergrown. Gifting numerous tier 1 subs. Thank you, sir. On Twitch. It is lovely. Thank you, G-Man. It's an AC/DC CD, says Ethereal Warrior. That's on the back. There we go. Ooh, it's heavy. I don't want to get fingerprints on the front of it. Oh, look how gorgeous that is. Wow. With display stand, huh? Oh, there it is. I was asking myself, where is it? It's actually was packed into right here in the package, and when I turned it over, it fell out. There's a display stand. Wow, that's nifty. I'm going to figure that out later. Must be hard to see against the white background. Is that a little better? That's the display stand. That's a gorgeous thing. Thank you, T Plateau. Nice. Everything must be straight and geometrical because my whole studio is on TV or on YouTube at this time and Twitch. Welcome to Pedro Rojas Cervantes. You'd think I could remember your name. Welcome, Pedro. We're opening mail from Australia. Gifts from T Plateau, not only to myself, that's coming up in a few scant minutes. Oh, there goes the whole show. I'm going to have to look at it now. I guess that's okay right there, right? This way. Yes. Welcome, Green Tea. Thank you, Verpine, for the super chat. With the, it looks like the, this sign. A little bit after my time, but I've seen it. Cute. Thank you, Verpine. Item number 2 from Australia. NT Plateau. From the premium collection, an I Love Australia item. We should have showed the stand against that. Here's the stand for the beautiful commemorative Perth plate. I like that centered better. There we go. It looks perpendicular now. This is supposed to be a tie, which is why I'm not wearing one right now. Thank you, T Plateau. Thank you, Jordan Cogburn. This is well packaged. I'm going to take the shears again and liberate the sides. Oh, you have magic tape in Australia? Nice. I love magic tape. What's the back say? whilst Australia is home to jumping kangaroos, fluffy koalas, and the majestic Sydney Opera House, the Great Outback is more than what it seems to be, with its breathtaking scenery and a vast desert. With the world's oldest indigenous living culture and bustling cities ingrained with multiculturalism, it's no wonder Australia has also become one of the most livable countries in the world. The Isle of Australia is a brand name that prides itself on capturing these aspects. Ooh, I was afraid it wasn't going to be read. Thank you, T Plateau. Excellent. I would have put it on anyway, but I can use this from now on. Cool. Oh, this is gorgeous. Wow. This is a gorgeous tie. Holy cow. I will be putting the tie on at this time. Let's go right here, I guess. I rarely do this in a sitting position. Remember how to do it. Yeah. Get out my handy mirror here. Okay, let's do this a little bit tighter. Pedro Rojas Cervantes asks, do packages from Australia arrive with an arrow saying other end up? It is a good tie, Verpine. Gorgeous. The material, too, is, it just feels really fine. Feels like silk. What are we doing now? That's not bad. I like that. All right. Thank you, Green Tea, who says it looks sharp. Welcome to X Spartan, who says very nice. Elegant, says Jordan Cogburn. Beautiful pattern, says T Plateau. Dapper, says Jordan. T. Olson 2 says, I picked it because I love the Aboriginal print and the red. The red selected for Bill. Oh, yeah, check it out. It is Aboriginal. Wow. See the boomerang? Oh, and then the salamander or whatever it is. Beautiful. Aboriginal bird drawing. Wow, this is absolutely fine. Thank you, thank you, T. Olson, too. All right. Good on that, right? Am I set with the... No, I'm going to put this down through this part. All right, we're good. Don't want to wrinkle it. Much appreciated, T. Plateau. And finally, now the next items are for members of the audience. So if you would like one of these, a part of this collection, just drop me an email at Bill_Madden at whoops, no one can see it. Bill_Madden at gmx.com. You should be able to see it, but a lot smaller, right? Hopefully that gets the whole address. And Yeah, send me an email, and then I'll ask for your mailing address for one of these fine items we're going to now see, shipped all the way from Australia. I better keep that paper around. Don't need the mirror anymore. All right. Tea Plateau does these. Oh, there's dozens of them. Holy cow. Tea Plateau does these gorgeous, what's the name? What are they called? Canvas diamond paintings. Okay, so send me an email, guys. What if they are named? It says diamond painting. Can you see beyond the glare there, people? Looks like roses. I'm gonna say roses. Doesn't look like they're individually named. It just says diamond painting and then number. Number 2. Still life with butterfly. Very nice. I'm trying not to get the reflection here on the camera. The raven? How apropos. Beautiful. The surface of these diamonds, it's actually a raised 3D surface. Little teeny tiny plastic diamonds. I guess they're plastic. Of some kind. Maybe they're a special acrylic or something like that. Nice window scene. Balcony scene. Balcony by the sea. Ooh, beautiful. Oh, this is gorgeous. This is super 3D. There's some super raised items here. Beautiful turquoise color. Look at that vase. Wow. Heart with butterflies. Pretty. Some really high raised items, elements on here too. I didn't know they had the high rise elements in them. These are for viewers of the show. If you would like to have one of these, just send me an email at bill_madden@gmx.com, and I'll get your address. You don't have to give it in the first email. Just ship me an email, and we'll talk. Butterflies with more excellent raised elements. Wow. I bet the raised elements cost more than the other parts. I bet there's a premium, let's say, on the super raised elements. Beautiful. The Eiffel Tower. Classic. Wow. It's like the Eiffel Tower in an alternate world. And there goes my coffee. I hope I emptied that. I don't see much spillage. There's a little spillage. I better keep my sock feet up here. Ooh, balloons. I assume that in Australia there's also balloon festivals like we have here in the States, where all the hobbyists get together and fly. Won't get me up there, but this is gorgeous. And that is it. So, people, these are not for me, but for viewers of the show. I already have mine. So, ship me an email at bill_madden@gmx.com. And you don't have to just send me your address right away. You can if you want to. We can talk, and eventually I'll coax your address out of you. Beautiful. Let me put these down very carefully on the side table that you can't see from where you are. And there they are on the side table. And I know we have to go back to regular. I think that's regular. So, yeah, that's the email address. And it's also in the description of the of every video. So pick any video, and in the description you'll see my email address. Oh, you're most welcome. You're most welcome, T. Olson, too. You're most welcome. Thank you. Thank you for the gorgeous tie. All right. By the way, these books over here, these are my two Roget's College Thesauruses from way back when. I've had one for forever, since I was in my teens. And I picked up another one somewhere. This is before you could use a computer to look up synonyms and antonyms. And this is what I use for my keyboard, to raise my keyboard up a little bit. And here's that device. So we're soon switching back to show mode here. All right. T. Olson 2 loves her thesaurus and her dictionary. Yeah. T. Plateau lives for her thesaurus and dictionary. Yeah, I love my thesauruses. I really don't use them anymore. I use the computer all the time. Online websites. These are probably better. Elderground says modern problems require modern solutions. And at 23 minutes past the hour, we're going to get to topic number 1. Easter Island. And that is... oh, under here. There we go. Here at the NewYorkPost.com, there's an article by Marissa Matazzo, published last month, entitled Biggest Easter Island Mystery May Finally Be Solved. The caption for this photo: researchers say Easter Island's 4-ton Moai walked across the island. I guess that's the name of these statues, Moai statues. Thanks to physics, ropes, and a little ancient choreography. No magic necessary. And Ms. Matazzo begins. Or Matazzo. It turns out the heads of Easter Island didn't just sit there. They strutted their stuff. After centuries of speculation about how the island's ancient people managed to move nearly 1,000 colossal stone statues, each weighing up to 80 tons, across miles of rugged terrain, scientists say they've cracked the code. The answer? The statues walked themselves there, using a mix of physics, physics. 3D modeling and some prehistoric ingenuity. Researchers at Binghamton University and the University of Arizona confirmed that the island's iconic Moai statues didn't need aliens, magic, or massive manpower to move. Just a few ropes and some rhythm. The caption here: new findings suggest that the Moai statues of Easter Island were not dragged but walked across Easter Island to their new ceremonial homes. Yeah, I think they put them on platforms. We're going to get that hanging down, I guess. Once you get it moving, it isn't hard at all. People are pulling with one arm, said Binghamton University anthropology professor Carl Lipo, co-author of the new study. It conserves energy, he said, and it moves really quickly. The hard part is getting it rocking in the first place. Welcome to Kayla Rain. Their findings line up perfectly with Rapa Nui oral traditions, which have long claimed the statues literally walked from the quarry, where they were carved, to their final resting places up to 10 miles away. Lipo and co-researcher Terry Hunt studied nearly 1,000 Moai and discovered that their curious design was not accidental. The statues' wide, D-shaped bases, and by D-shaped, I'm sure they mean the letter D. Not oriented like this, but like this. That's what the bottoms look like. The D-shaped bases and a slight forward lean made them more likely to wobble their way forward in a side-to-side rocking motion, like a massive 4-ton conga line. I'm sure that would only move one at a time. The caption here: the new study backs up ancient tales by the Rapa Nui people, who claimed the massive stones walked to their new homes before being carved with the Moai visage. The physics makes sense, Lipo explained. What we saw experimentally actually works. And as it gets bigger, it still works. They were all of all sizes, of course. All the attributes we see about moving gigantic ones only get more and more consistent the bigger and bigger they get, because it becomes the only way you can move it. Thanks for the topic, Eldergrown. I like that one. Got it. To put their theory to the test, the team built a 4.5-ton replica Moai with that signature forward lean and the D-shaped bottom, of course, with just 18 people and a handful of ropes. They walked the statue 100 meters in 40 minutes. That's a kilometer in 40 minutes times 10. Well, 3 of those is 2 hours. And it's going to be that times 3. So I'm thinking about 7 hours to walk a kilometer. Far faster and easier than dragging it on its back. Also doesn't waste any wood. There was once a theory that they had used up all their wood just moving their own statues. That's one of their red hats right there. Caption, the 80-ton statues were moved 10 miles from a quarry to the current site as nearly as 1100 AD. 10 miles being 16 kilometers, and that's a guarantee. Oh, we have more writing here. The evidence does not stop there. Easter Island's mysterious network of Moai roads, long thought to be ceremonial, now appear to have been functional, built specifically to guide the walking giants to their platforms. Lipo said, every time they're moving a statue, it looks like they're also making the road. The road is part of moving the statue. These roads, roughly 15 feet wide and slightly concave, acted like ancient conveyor belts, steadying the statues as they swayed forward in a zigzag motion. One at a time, not in a conga line, as suggested earlier by the author. The caption here, previous theories suggested the giant rocks were set upon a track of wooden planks and dragged across the island. Not so. Some toppled moai found alongside these paths even show signs of being rewrited by islanders, who clearly refused to leave a fallen comrade behind. For decades, experts believed the statues were dragged on wooden sleds, a puzzling theory for a treeless island. Lipo's walking model not only fits the physics, but also fits the island's reality. Lipo said, it shows the Rapa Nui people were incredibly smart. They figured it out. They're doing it the way that's consistent with the resources they have. So it really gives honor to those people, saying, look at what they're able to achieve. And we have a lot to learn from them in these principles. End quote. As for anyone still clinging to the old theories, Lipo has a challenge. Find some evidence that shows it couldn't be walking, because nothing we've seen anywhere disproves it. In fact, everything we ever see and ever thought keeps strengthening the argument. The caption here, the new study proves that walking the statues would have been much faster than pulling. As previously reported by the Post, this at the New York Post, by the way, if I failed to mention that, a fresh face surfaced on Easter Island in 2023, literally. We're coming to that story next. The volcanic island, about 2,000 miles off of Chile's coast, is world famous for its 900-plus moai, carved by the Rapa Nui people as early as 1100 years AD. So ultimately, when it came to moving mountains, the Rapa Nui just put one foot or statue in front of the other. Of course, they have to end with a pun. It's every reporter's habit, it seems. That other story, a new Easter Island statue discovered as drought conditions worsen. This from a couple years ago, 2023. And the story at NewYorkPost.com, written by Matthew Sadaka. There's a picture of it. The caption, a new moai was discovered after a volcanic crater lake dried up. A new moai. Hope no one's getting sound. No one is. Good. A new moai was found on Easter Island in the bed of a volcano crater lake, thanks to severe drought conditions in the area. The Pacific island, located roughly 2,000 miles west of the Chilean coast, is famed for its more than 900 stone figures known as Moai. The monolithic Moai were carved of volcanic ash by the Rapa Nui people as far back as 1100 AD. Volcanic. There's a name for a volcanic ash rock, isn't there? It wasn't carved from the ash. What is the name of that stuff? Must ask AI. Pumice, right, pumice. Thank you, Elder. No need to ask AI. Jordan Cogburn says, Moai without hats doing the safety dance. Yeah, they had red hats originally. I'm not sure all of them, but a lot of them supposedly did. Some of those hats still survive. Basalt suggests T-plateau. It might also be basalt. Excuse me. I'm thinking pumice, though. Basalt sounds older. Why am I having such problems with my wig? Rapid temperature change here. The heat is dissipating at this time. I'm sure I'm about to re-robe at any moment. And we are here. The newly found Moai was discovered by volunteers from 3 Chilean universities who are working on a project to help restore the marshland in the Reno Renuku volcano, reported by Agence France Presse. Agence France, the agency of the French press. Nanaska Averapua Ukikadros, director of the Mau Henua indigenous community that manages the Rapa Nui National Park, where the volcano is located, told AFP the lake where the Moai was found had begun drying up in 2018. Uki said, the interesting thing is that for at least the last 200 or 300 years, the laguna was 3 meters deep, meaning no human being could have left the Moai there in that time. The recently discovered Moai measures just 5 feet tall and was found by researchers on its side, but tilted to look toward the sky. The tallest Moai measures 33 feet, the tallest one they know of. And on average, the statues weigh between 3 to 5 tons. This is what Terry Hunt told Good Morning America, Terry Hunt being a professor of archaeology at the University of Arizona. Terry also said, the Moai are important because they really represent the history of the Rapa Nui people. They were the islanders' deified ancestors. They're iconic worldwide, and they really represent the fantastic archaeological heritage of this island. End quote. Caption, one expert says Moai weigh on the average between 3 to 5 tons. That's what she said, or he said, depending on what gender Terry is, or what they said. Van Tilburg said, who is Van Tilburg? There we go. Joanne Van Tilburg, an archaeologist and director of the Easter Island Statue Project, told Fox Weather that years of harsh climate conditions, including drought and grass fires, led to the lake drying up, and the latest discovery. Van Tilburg said, right now, the issue is for them to put a conservation team together so they can stabilize the statue because its exposure can become problematic. End quote. Several Moai and Rapa Nui National Park were charred in October and suffered irreparable damage after a forest fire ripped through the area. This looks like a picture of that volcanic lagoon. Van Tilburg said, given the current weather conditions and likelihood of future excavations, more Moai discoveries are all but certain. I don't know if he meant in the lagoon or not. Van Tilburg stated, we finished a lot of mapping and documentation of the quarry between 2018 and 2019. I wonder if they mean that the volcano was a quarry. Probably not. Because they carried it out in 2018 and the lake didn't dry up until 2023. What we found was there was a lot more evidence of more quarrying on the outside than we had originally thought. That about the original quarry. 100% there'll be more discoveries like this. So it's kind of cloudy as to what they actually mean. Green Tea says now they have discovered pillars at Göbekli Tepe in Turkey that are holding their hands in the unique position similar to the Moai of Easter Island. Really? Cool. Very cool. All right, and at 42 minutes past the hour, time for our first suggestion, which is from T Plateau, and that is. And by the way, guys, if you've ever provided a suggestion, I'm now keeping all of them, and we're going to do all of them. I'm keeping them from show to show, in other words, and we're going to do all of them. That's how I should put it. So, from T Plateau. Updates on the DB Cooper case. I think they found him, didn't they? That would be cool. Just says here the FBI's reopened its investigation. Well, let's find out. The FBI. Came in September of this year. So we need something after September 2025 to give us the update. December ain't going to help. FBI agent who investigated DB Cooper. What's the date of that? They're not telling us. This says 2 weeks ago, but it's Wikipedia. Another 2024. 5 days ago. Let's try this one. It's from RGI.com. And it's a story written, it doesn't say. It just says from the Reno Gazette Journal archives. Okay. And it's entitled, DB Cooper leapt from Reno-bound plane in 1971 with $200,000. Mystery remains. Updated November 24th, 2025. When was it they found it? It's in the AI. September 2025. So hopefully this will include data from the FBI. And the author begins, it was November 24th, 1971, the eve of Thanksgiving, when a man dressed in a dark business suit and sunglasses took a seat in the last row of a Northwest Orient Airlines flight out of Portland, Oregon. The man presented a typewritten note to a stewardess, demanding $200,000 in $20 bills. Demanding? How did he get money on a plane? I thought he brought it with him. That's interesting. Demanding $200,000 in $20 bills and 4 parachutes in exchange for not blowing up the plane. Oh, the plane first landed in Seattle, where the man now commonly known as D.B. Cooper allowed the passengers and most of the crew to get off. He was given his parachute and the money and ordered pilots to fly to Mexico. I was going to say Mexico, which is why I flubbed. And ordered the pilots to fly to Mexico. The pilot told them the plane would have to refuel in Reno. Police and FBI agents swarmed the runway at the Reno Tahoe International Airport. But when the plane landed, Cooper was nowhere to be found, because he jumped from the plane. A search began in Washington and Oregon, where he was believed to have jumped. Neither he nor his body was ever found. 5 years later, the statute of limitations for the crime ran out, and Cooper was believed to be a free man. In 1980, a family picnicking along the Columbia River in Oregon unearthed $6,000 of soggy $20 bills. Sketches of the 1971 skyjacking suspect. The FBI agent who followed the case believed Cooper wound up a crumpled skeleton on the forest floor. Ralph Himmelsbach said 10 years after the jump, I think he was a stupid, desperate rascal, a brutal, unscrupulous man who endangered the lives of more than 40 people for money and caused his own death. Followers who gather in several states to celebrate the anniversary believe Cooper pulled off the perfect crime, melting back into society a rich man. But 2 former federal employees asserted in a book published in 1991 that Cooper died in 1974 in a shootout during a bank robbery, after he escaped from a prison where he was serving time for attempting to hijack a second plane in Utah. Trying to pull the old gambit again, huh? The old D.B. Cooper gambit. And that's the end of the story? Okay. Let's see what AI has to say from the search. Green Tea says, how could they not know he jumped? It's not like he could shut the door behind him. Yeah, right? That's weird. We'll ask the other AI that next. That is weird. But first, the mundane AI, the one you don't have to pay for. The FBI has reopened its investigation into the D.B. Cooper case, following the discovery of a parachute potentially linked to the hijacker and reigniting a decades-old mystery. This development comes after the agency released new files in September 2025, revealing previously unseen details about Cooper's meticulous planning, his extensive flight knowledge, and the FBI's extensive search for suspects, including Richard Floyd McCoy Jr. Bullet points. Number 1, the discovery of a parachute possibly belonging to Cooper was made by the children of Richard McCoy on their family property, fueling renewed interest in the case. The FBI has since reopened the investigation, which was closed in 2016. New FBI files released in September of this year include a 336-page report by Special Agent Charles E. Farrell, detailing Cooper's methodical behavior, such as inspecting one of the parachutes to ensure it was not tampered with. The documents also confirm Cooper's deep knowledge of the 727 aircraft, including flight procedures and terrain recognition, suggesting he had professional aviation experience. But despite new evidence, the FBI has not publicly confirmed the authenticity of the recovered parachute, and the case remains officially open but without definitive resolution. You'd think they'd be able to tell that. Why wouldn't they make that public? They're scared that the descendants of the criminal may still give themselves away? And then what are you going to do to them? Retired FBI agent Larry Carr, who managed the case between 2007 and 2010, believes the investigation remains active in practice, even after the closure, and that the agency may be conducting discrete DNA testing on key evidence like Cooper's tie. Amateur detective Eric Eulis continues to advocate for access to the tie for advanced DNA analysis, claiming he has obtained a sample from a 2011 examination. A sample from the tie? I guess. Now, we'll ask the AI you have to pay for, which is supposed to be better. Uh-oh. Let me know if something goes off with my volume, people. I accidentally turned on the wrong volume. In the case of D.B. Cooper, how were authorities initially unsure as to exactly how he had exited the plane? I.e., how could he have closed the door behind him? Thank you, Green Tea. And thank you, Tea Plateau, for the suggestion. What is known for sure? Cooper hijacked a Boeing 727. And after the plane refueled in Seattle, he directed the remaining crew to fly on. Sometime between Seattle and Reno, on a night flight over southwestern Washington, Cooper deployed the rear air stair and jumped out of the back with a parachute, vanishing. Why authorities were uncertain. I better turn off my dragon here. Whoops. Why authorities were uncertain about the exit and door closure, the rear air stair geometry and its limitations. The Boeing 727's air stair could be deployed in flight, but when it was, tests suggested it could only drop partially, not fully extend, roughly trailing parallel to the fuselage in the airstream, providing much less space than a normal stairway. Because of that limited extension, a person exiting likely had to crawl along the stairs rather than step out. Standing upright or a swan dive out the back was considered highly improbable, given the narrow clearance and the aerodynamic forces. Uncertainty about whether what? About whether the air stair door could be physically closed and locked mid-air. After the jump, the plane landed with the rear stairs down. But that doesn't prove someone manually closed and locked the door. Rear stairs down. Doesn't down mean open? Some investigators concluded that once Cooper jumped, airflow and aerodynamic forces could have pushed the air stair back in or forced it towards some neutral trailing position, making it appear as if the door had been closed. That means that no mechanical or human action may have been needed to close the door. It may have closed by air pressure alone. Because of this, investigators could not confidently assert that Cooper or any accomplice remained on board after the jump. They couldn't conclude it. They swarmed the plane when it landed. Lack of visual witness confirmation. There were no other passengers or crew who witnessed a second person on board after Cooper exited, leaving only the flight crew's instruments, such as pressure change indicators, and subsequent landing configuration for information. That from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, that link. The link to that knowledge. Because the air stair's motion under airflow can be ambiguous, and because the stair door assembly doesn't lock down, welcome Tina Tomaszewski. Tina, one of the original gangsters of Night Terrors. Welcome, Tina. We're talking about everything that's known about the case of D.B. Cooper. Because the stair door assembly doesn't lock down automatically in a visible way, it was and remains difficult to conclusively demonstrate that the plane was ever sealed after the exit. What investigators concluded and why the uncertainty persisted. The official conclusion by the investigating agency, in other words, the FBI, was that Cooper likely exited by way of the rear air stair mid-air, and that the air stair was forced closed by outside air pressure after the jump. Because the air stair could hang in a free-floating position under airflow, not necessarily fully locked, the door may not have been mechanically secured as during normal ground deployment. This introduced a lingering how exactly uncertainty. We don't know with absolute certainty that the door was properly closed. Only the aerodynamics could have produced a result consistent with its post-landing appearance. Why the uncertainty matters. Because of the ambiguity. Tina says, ah yes, Mr. Cooper. Because of this ambiguity, some of the key unknowns in the case persist. Whether Cooper's exit was witnessed properly, the physical constraints of the air stair like a normal exit unlikely. Witnessed properly. The physical constraints of the air stair making a normal exit unlikely. What do they mean, witnessed properly? Whether someone might have helped him exit. Ooh, this spawning alternate theories, though no credible evidence supports that. Whether the door closure noted on landing was mechanical, aerodynamic, or contrived, meaning the flight record doesn't definitely prove Cooper was gone. Boy, that's really a whole bunch of unexplained stuff. First off, explaining what the heck they mean when they say what they say. In short, because the 727's rear air stair did not cleanly replicate a stable, fully extended exit staircase, but rather hung trailing in the airstream, it was physically very tricky for someone to exit. And after the jump, airflow likely forced the assembly into a position that looked closed, without needing any mechanical closing. That combination left investigators uncertain about whether Cooper had manually sealed the plane behind him, or whether external forces simply made it appear so. And AI offers to walk us through the key engineering and aerodynamic experiments done after the test. We're going to allow this. Done after the jump to test exactly how the air stair behaved. That's where most of the how could he get out and then close the door. It closed itself. It could have just told us that. We have what looks like a link, data image. Mods, please delete. Yeah, we can delete that. How do we do that? We click here and just, where's delete? I don't see the oil, maybe here. Only block or report. Where's delete? Ban, timeout, warn, mod. He's a mod already. Are you a mod already here, Elder? Mod Elderground. You are now. I thought you were a mod already, both places. I don't see where delete is. Oh, sorry, buddy. I don't think mods can delete either. There we go. Now I am laughs Elder. Twitch changed the mod menu, reports Green Tea. Thank you, Green Tea. Okay, let's check out my Elderground's link. That's the rear stair, evidently. Yeah, because see, there's the, do they call it fuselage if it's in the rear? The tail. There's the tail of the aircraft. It looks like the stairway, the descending stairway of the Jupiter 2 from Lost in Space. Very cool. Green Tea says mods used to be able to delete a message. But T Plateau can't find it either, and she's a mod. Huh. All right. Next up at 3 minutes past the hour. Our next suggestion. About 03, otherwise I don't know what I'm doing. When I look at it later. Delete the first one. This one from Rhino Rex. And that is AI hallucinations. AI hallucinates more than you'd think. More than you think. And hallucination is where it tells you stuff that's completely false, and you ask it more questions about the same topic, and it keeps making up false stuff to support that topic. I think that's what hallucination is. Let's first look at what are AI hallucinations at IBM, see if I'm right. Green Tea says AI's been naughty. Open, make a new tab. There we go. What are AI hallucinations? This, more options. Can I reject all, please? The only thing you can do is, no, just X out. AI hallucination is this at IBM.com. Tina Tomaszewski says, I can remember back when you had to walk out to board the airplanes. Really? And walk up those stairs at the Orlando airport back in the 60s and 70s. Wow. Welcome, House Mouse 2. We're finding out about AI hallucinations. Welcome, House Mouse. An uncredited author. An anonymous says, AI hallucination is a phenomenon where, in a large language model, which is AI, in which the AI perceives patterns or objects that are non-existent or imperceptible to human observers, creating outputs that are nonsensical or altogether inaccurate. Yeah, it will take you down a path, and you think you're getting somewhere because you trust AI. It's telling you answers as if they're factual, and I am freezing. It's telling you stuff as if it's factual. That's its only mode, supposedly. But I was en route from Virginia to New York, and depending on AI for directions, to my Airbnb. I might have told this story before, because I was exhausted, and it's a long way. And I was in the town right next to where the Airbnb was supposed to be. So it was the wrong town to look for the Airbnb. But AI was directing me to this Airbnb. Whoops, sorry about that, folks. AI was directing me to this Airbnb in the wrong town. And I was driving to where it was directing me, and then stopping and asking again. And then it was giving me directions, pinpoint directions. You got to go to this street. It's near this crossroads, whatever. And then when I get there, it will correct its directions with an apology. Of course, it doesn't give you your money back. I'd like a refund. Also, I was trying to program, I think it was a remote temperature device for my mom. She has one of these devices where she has the temperature inside and outside, and it remotely connects to the sensor outside. And I think on that, it was hallucinating as well, giving you instructions that were not actually in the instruction manual. Elder Coat says, I'm sorry, I can't do that, Bill. A la Hal in 2001, A Space Odyssey. And the scuttlebutt goes that Hal was just a reference to IBM, because it's the word Hal is exactly one alphabet letter removed from IBM in the same direction. But Arthur C. Clarke claimed that he had never had that in mind. He just named it Hal. Who knows if that was the truth or not. But supposedly that's what he said. All right, back to the topic of AI hallucinations. And let's read a little bit about them. Why did that happen? Now I want to go the other direction. How can I do that? Can I use cursor? I can. Oh, I'm glad I discovered that technique. And I need libation. House Mouse says, I am a pilot, and still, now and then, you do use the stairs to board at small airports. Remember, when you fly, the pilot is on control takeoff and landing. 90% of the time, that plane is on autopilot. Oh, the pilot is on the controls at takeoff and landing. And then 90% of the time, the rest of the time, I think House Mouse means, the plane is on autopilot. Folks, if you didn't see the beginning of the show, we have a bunch of, what are they called? We have an opening in the beginning of the show, opening of mail from T Plateau. Let me do the thing again. And she sent some canvas diamond paintings. They're 3D paintings with 3D elements in them. It's like a 3D element by number type deal. And I guess there's about a dozen of them. I didn't count them. And I already have mine, but the ones that she sent to me are for you guys out there, the listeners in the audience. So if you want to get one of T Plateau's or T Olsen 2's, Takama Olsen 2, 3D diamond pieces of art, just ship an email to bill_madden@gmx.com. Okay, guys? And eventually, through our correspondence, I will get your address and I'll ship one to you. So drop me an email. Okay. And back to the list. Diamond.art. Tina says it's called here in the States. Thank you, Tina. Welcome, Azir's 1975, who says hello to everyone. Welcome back, Azir's. Good to see you. We're talking about AI hallucinations. If you want to see the part that's about the part that's about Easter Island, just to rewind to the beginning of the show. Or if you want to see all the diamond paintings, rewind to the beginning of the show, because they're all featured there. We look at every one of them. There's 10 of them. Thank you, T Plateau. And let's go to a good article here somewhere. AI hallucinations. What are AI hallucinations? What are they? What are they? What are they? I like examples of them. Generative AI, why experts reject them as hallucinate. Let's do it through this at the conversation. Theconversation.com, that is. Why OpenAI's solution to AI hallucinations would kill ChatGPT tomorrow. This written by, it's not giving it. It's not giving an author. Bottom of the page, maybe. Yes, Joel Abrams. And Mr. Abrams begins. OpenAI's, that's who I pay. An awful lot. Well, $20 a month. It's really pricey for the quality of AI, which rots. Elder Grown with another link. Thank you, Elder. AI hallucination, a guide with examples. Thank you, Elder. There's a whole bunch of examples there. Let's start over here, though. We'll drag this over. Let's start here. OpenAI's latest research paper diagnoses exactly why ChatGPT and other large language models can make things up, known in the world of AI as hallucination. It also reveals why the problem may be unfixable, at least as far as consumers are concerned. Really? So you don't pay for it, the problem might be fixed for you? The paper provides the most rigorous mathematical explanation yet for why these models constantly lie. It demonstrates these are not just an unfortunate side effect of the way the AIs are trained, but they're mathematically inevitable. The issue can be partly explained by mistakes in the underlying data used to train the AIs. But using math analysis of how AI systems learn, the researchers proved that even with perfect training data, the problem still exists. Even if they don't have stuff in which there's lies, they still lie. The way language models respond to queries. I'm just going to substitute AI for language model from here on out because they're the same thing. They're a language model. The AIs are a language model. They're just parroting, really, a language they find on the internet, basically. Excuse me. Elder Growth says, sounds like high-tech rounding errors. That is so good. Generic strawberry, or I should say store brand, strawberry orange banana. I don't need to put it down there, do I? Well, stay colder down there. It'll stay colder down there. T Plateau says, I'm one thirsty boy today. The way AI responds to queries by predicting one word at a time in a sentence based on probability naturally produces errors. The researchers show that the total error rate for generating sentences is twice as high as the error rate the same AI would have on a simple yes or no question, because mistakes can accumulate over multiple predictions. Oh yeah. Once it starts down that wrong path, watch out, because they'll be taking you right with them. In other words, hallucination rates are bounded by how well AI systems can distinguish themselves valid from invalid responses. Since this problem is difficult for many areas of knowledge, hallucinations become unavoidable. It also turns out that the less a model sees a fact during training, the more likely it is to hallucinate about it. With birthdays of notable figures, for instance, it was found that if 20% of such people's birthdays only appear once in the training data, then models should get at least 20% of the birthday queries wrong. Sure enough, when researchers asked state-of-the-art models for the birthday of Adam Kalai, one of the paper's authors, DeepSeek version 3 confidently, that's the Chinese one, DeepSeek. DeepSeek version 3 confidently provided 3 different incorrect dates across separate attempts. The correct date is in the autumn, so none of these were even close. They guessed March, 7. I guess they're doing a reverse thing. They guessed, it's a birthday, right? Yeah, birthday. They guessed July, June, and January. More troubling is the paper's analysis of why hallucinations persist despite post-training efforts, such as providing extensive human feedback to an AI's responses before it's released to the public. The authors examined 10 major AI benchmarks, revealing that 9 benchmarks use binary grading systems that award 0 points for AIs expressing uncertainty. I don't understand that. This creates what the authors term an epidemic of penalizing honest responses. When an AI system says, "I don't know," it receives the same score as giving the wrong information. Well, they should change that system. The optimal strategy under such evaluation becomes clear. Always guess. And they don't say, in parentheses, and represent that as the truth. Gotcha Man says, I like to give it wrong feedback to screw it up even more. Like how Kiss is named after Peter Criss. Eldergrown has heard this before, he says. The AI wants points, and it gets more points for definitively answering, even if it's wrong. Boy, do I need more juice. You guys are making me thirsty. Blame it on the bossa nova. Tina likes the flavor. Thank you, Tina. I don't know why I'm so thirsty. More troubling, I read that already. And that, this creates what the authors term an epidemic of penalizing honest answers. When an AI system says, I don't know, I already said that. Always guess. The researchers proved this mathematically. Whatever the chances of a particular answer being right, the expected score of guessing always exceeds the score of abstaining when an evaluation uses binary grading. Tina says sometimes running the heat in the house makes the air drier and makes you thirsty as well. Yeah, that's true, right? Welcome to Makni. Makni says the only defense against artificial intelligence is natural stupidity. Thank you, Makni. And welcome. OpenAI's proposed fix is to have AI consider its own confidence in an answer before putting it out there, and for benchmarks to score them on that basis. The AI could then be prompted, for instance, answer only if you're more than 75% confident. Since mistakes are penalized 3 points, while correct answers receive 1 point. The demerit system. The OpenAI researchers' mathematical framework shows AI systems would naturally express uncertainty rather than guess. So this would lead to fewer hallucinations. The problem is what it would do to user experience. Consider the implications if ChatGPT started saying, I don't know, to even 30% of its questions. A conservative estimate based on the paper's analysis. Users accustomed to receiving confident answers to virtually any question would likely abandon such systems rapidly. That's why they say for the consumer. I've seen this kind of problem in another area of my life. I wouldn't mind if it said, I don't know. Rather than leading me down the wrong path for long hours on end in certain cases. Green tea, good point, green tea. Green tea says just the phrase hallucination instead of saying lies is a consumer scam. The author writes, I've seen this kind of problem in another area of my life. I'm involved in air quality monitoring projects in Salt Lake City, Utah. When the system flags uncertainties around measurements, there's less user engagement compared to displays showing confident readings, even when those confident readings prove inaccurate during validation. Okay, confuse me again. Well, what about Eldergrown's find? AI hallucination, a guide with examples. Typical AI hallucinations, 3 kinds. Only 3, is there more follow? Oh, that's right. Factual errors. Content made up out of whole cloth. And nonsense output. Or what they call factual errors, fabricated content, or nonsensical output. Understanding AI hallucinations. Ooh, we get a chart. Types and examples. Factual errors. Math or history. Fabricated content. Because topics are obscure or it makes incorrect assumptions. And nonsensical output. Because of contradictory prompts from the user. Blame somebody else. Or because of lack of coherence, whatever that means. These categories are not mutually exclusive. A single hallucination can often overlap multiple types, such as fabricated story that also contains factual errors and nonsensical elements. And usually is. Okay, let's see the examples. Is 3,821 a prime? A prime being any only those numbers divisible by 1 in themselves. No, 3821 is not a prime number, answers ChatGPT. It can be divided by 53 and 72, among other factors. And then the user says, 53 by 72 does not equal the same number. It equals 3816. So, is 3821 a prime number then? Let's verify if 3821 is a prime number to check. A prime number has no divisors other than 1 in itself. If 3821 has any divisors, it's not prime. Let me calculate its divisors. It is a prime number. ChatGPT determines correctly afterwards, after the fact. More thing about the primes. Was there ever a U.S. senator that represented the state of Minnesota and whose alma mater was Princeton University of New Jersey? An uncle of mine went to Princeton, taught at Princeton. Another uncle of mine taught at Post. That's the famous CW Post. Same as, which is the same family from which the Post cereal company comes from. That is icy cold and so good. Yes, there has been at least one U.S. senator from Minnesota who attended Princeton. Walter Mondale, who later became vice president of the U.S., served as a U.S. senator from Minnesota. He attended Princeton, although he completed his undergrad studies at the University of Minnesota, before going on to earn his law degree from the University of Minnesota Law School. So very, very little chance that he went to Princeton. Did Walter F. Mondale go to Princeton? Apologies for the confusion earlier. I've seen that response. Walter Mondale did not attend Princeton. He attended the University of Minnesota, where he received both his undergraduate and law degrees. I'm sorry for the error. Yeah, well, where's my money? Nonsensical output. Any more examples? No more examples? There appear to be no more examples. Therefore, we're going to move on to the next topic now at 30 minutes past the hour. And the one we just did being, I never wrote it down, was the one after D.B. Cooper. It was, oh, we're doing it right now, AI hallucination. And as now, as I said, 30 after, we're moving on to a suggestion from Triceratops. And that is, Ezergone says, I am not programmed to respond in that area. Triceratops would like to learn about the Philadelphia experiment. Cool. It was also a movie. A pretty good movie. The Philadelphia experiment. I think there's only one. The one with Michael Pere and Nancy Allen. It's almost over. Almost out of juice. I'm sure you'll be happy when that happens. Philadelphia experiment at U.S. Navy history. Strange New Worlds. Here's a story by John Kuhn. I'm just going to write down the Philly experiment. Entitled The Philadelphia Experiment. Subtitle, You Sunk My Invisible Battleship. At newworlds.substack.com. Get more juice. I could do, but then I'd have to leave you guys. So I'm probably not going to do that. But I will drink it up. Nautical folklore has always captured my interest, begins Mr. Kuhn. And there's definitely some odd urban legends littering that category related to the U.S. Navy. I come from a family with extensive naval ties. My maternal grandfather served in the Pacific Theater during World War II. My father enlisted twice in the U.S. Navy as a Seabee, serving his first tour from 59 to 63, and then re-enlisting in 68. So both peacetime and wartime, I guess, right? There was a gap between the Korean War and the Vietnam War, right? When did the Korean War end? Vietnam started in 65, right? Let's ask AI. When did the Korean War end and the Vietnam War begin? I've always heard 65 to 75. It's easy for me to remember. 2. Oh, begin. Shouldn't have erased that. For Vietnam, that is. Vietnam War, Johnny Day beginning 1955. No. Oh, it wrote the wrong words. It wrote the dragon. What did the Korean War and in the Vietnam War begin? Let's try this. When did the Korean War end? End. End. Keeps doing and for end. And when did the war start between the U.S. and Vietnam? Korean War ended 53. I thought it would have been later. But okay. And that's right. U.S. ground troops arrived in Da Nang, March 8, 1965. Okay, so it ended in 75. So yes, 65 to 75. Easy to remember. And let's see if Korea is as easy. I will memorize it right now. It already told us when it began. It began in 1950. Oh, it was shorter. Korean War was shorter than Vietnam. Interesting. 10-year war in Vietnam. Korean War began on 1950, ended in 1955. 5 years for Korea. That's kind of easy too. 55. 50 to 55. 55 was when my wife was born. My wife's 5 years older than I. Okay. Where's the source of the reading? Or is it here? No. Is it here? Yes. Strange New Worlds. Wait. What is going on? Oh, here it is. Turn off the dragon. We'll be having problems if we don't do that. Turn off there, mister. Thank you. And John continues. A year into Dad's second tour, he was scheduled to ship out to South Vietnam from Okinawa during the height of the war. Yeah, but during Johnson, he just kept throwing more troops in. Just tried to throw more, keep throwing troops in. He thought it would improve the situation. It didn't. And Johnson was a pretty good president too, in my opinion. Except for that decision. Johnson was a good president. A few days before his departure date, my dad broke his back. He was sent home instead with a medical discharge after he re-enlisted in 1968. Prior to that, he'd been enlisted during peacetime. It takes guts to enlist in wartime. Dad always shared interesting stories from his time in the service. I learned about his time as a Seabee aboard the USS Lake Champlain, an aircraft carrier, when it retrieved Alan Shepard and the Freedom 7 capsule in 1961, after Shepard became the first American to travel in space. Father once showed me a photograph in his possession of Shepard and his capsule being brought to the aircraft carrier. With that background, you can see why a tale like the Philadelphia experiment would pique my curiosity. The U.S. Navy allegedly conducted a series of experiments during the Second World War to make their ships invisible by bending light around the ship through refraction, which was created by large electrical generators. Stories claim that a newly commissioned destroyer, the USS Eldridge, became the first test subject in late 1943. Naval crews outfitted the Eldridge with all the necessary equipment for the experiment. Where's the bar? There it is. And carried out tests at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. Initial tests were deemed successful, with eyewitnesses reporting a greenish fog taking the place of the destroyer for a short time. Sailors on board complained of severe nausea after the experiment. The experiment soon took a disastrous turn. On October the 8th, 1943, the USS Eldridge allegedly disappeared from Philadelphia and was teleported to Norfolk, Virginia, more than 200 miles away. It remained in Norfolk for only a few minutes before returning to Philly. When the ship rematerialized, the crew were said to have suffered severe and gruesome side effects. Some sailors were fused to bulkheads, and a few rematerialized with their bodies inside out. Other sailors went insane. A small number vanished. Naval officials, the tale goes, covered up evidence of the Philadelphia experiment and pursued stealth technology as a safer alternative to invisibility. The tale of a naval ship disappearing, teleporting, and reappearing sounds like it was ripped straight from the pages of an SF novel, where SF is science fiction. Makes sense because nothing about the experiment is grounded in fact. I don't like the debunking ones. I prefer the ones that play along. Because how does this guy know it didn't happen? The earliest known recounting of the alleged experiment came from letters sent by Carl Allen to Morris Jessup in the late 50s. Allen said he was an eyewitness to the experiment and its aftermath. The letter served as foundational material for popular books in the 70s, recounting the same events, and a 1984 time travel film entitled The Philadelphia Experiment. Okay, more debunky stuff. If I'm warned ahead of time, I can skip it, and you don't have to hear it. Yeah, that's where it ends. Yeah, I've heard different opinions on whether it happened or not. Let me put it that way. And let's see, what do we got? About 10 more minutes. Let's go to, at 43 past the hour, the next suggestion, which is from Gotcha Man, and it's a link. Okay, what do you got, Gotcha Man? Let's put the link. Let's throw caution to the wind and put the link here. Hoping I can fill 3 minutes. Hoping I can fill the remainder of the show without having to go to the next suggestion. Okay. And there's the link. No. I'm going to put the link up here first. And here's the link. And go. Got it. The Grandma's in the Cemetery by Anand. I don't know why that person only has one name. What happens if you click on him? Anand. This is at vocal.media. Jeff, a resident of Dayton, Ohio, was driving with his 3-year-old son Miles in the back seat when they passed by a cemetery. It was a modest one with only flowers and small plaques. Jeff explains on Monsters Among Us, it basically looks like a giant garden. According to Jeff, as they drove by, his toddler, who had been happily singing, abruptly stopped, pointed to the cemetery and exclaimed, "Look at all those people." That gave me chills. Jeff turned to look, but didn't see a soul. Confused, he asked Miles what he was talking about. "All those people over there," his son replied. "There sure are a lot of grandmas." As Jeff tells it, chills ran down his spine as he asked his son what the people were doing. "They're all just standing there looking down at the grass." Completely unsettled by the conversation, I am too. Jeff sped up and drove home. Later the same day, he says his young son was watching television when he turned to Jeff and said, "You know, they weren't alive." Thinking Miles was referring to the cartoon, Jeff asked what he meant. "Those people we saw, they were all paused," his son replied. "I don't know if my son has a sixth sense," Jeff said, "or if he just has a wild imagination." Wow, that's no comments to that one. That's kind of surprising. Let's do some more cemetery ghost stories. Cemetery ghost stories. Looking for true ghost stories here in the cemetery. Let's go back one. True cemetery ghost story. 5 terrifying true graveyard stories that will haunt you. Yes, please. Oh no, it's a YouTube video. Sorry, we're doing a video. We don't need to watch a video. What is it based on, though? 14 creepiest stories from cemetery groundskeepers. That's at Ranker. Yeah, let's do the 14. Here at Ranker.com by Bailey Brown. Looks like a guy. Can we see a larger picture of that person? It's a woman. Where'd she go? She disappeared. There she is again. A quiet introvert until provoked by questions about anything. Likes to visit foreign countries. Foreign is spelled wrong. They don't care very much about their writers, do they? She likes purple turtlenecks and cosplay. Okay. In a story called The Creepiest Stories from Cemetery Groundskeepers. Number 1. A deceased man thrashed in the cremation chamber. Oh my God. From Redditor Nick Boddick. I've had a number of odd experiences with our crematorium. One such instance was in 2012. Once when I was in Death Ed at Plattsburgh State, we had a field trip to a crematorium, and the guy said, "Do you want to see some cremains?" The crematorium guy, I guess, someone who worked at the crematorium, and they looked interesting. Gotcha Man says the camera is cutting to black. Oh, thanks, Tina, for the warning. Looks like we're going a little longer tonight. Thank you, Tina. And it was interesting to look at, but the only thing I could think of was it was like in a jar. just a few at the bottom of a jar. And I thought, why is this person showing us someone else's remains? And why why did he collect someone else's remains from the crematorium? Of course, probably they just have to clean it out. And there's extra left over, maybe? Who knows? Who wants to know? Ask AI. Why would crematoriums have leftover remains to show? Crematoriums can have small, harmless, it says. Yeah, remains are harmless. Leftover fragments after cremation because of how the process actually works. These are not whole remains. Yeah, but they're partial remains. But tiny bone fragments that are processed after the cremation. Cremation does not reduce a body to ash, right? There are little chunks left over. None were larger than a quarter penny. What remains afterward are calcified bone fragments. I guess I saw some of that, and there's some ash in there too. Even at 800 degrees, not 800, 1800 degrees Fahrenheit, bones typically remain as brittle fragments. These fragments must be pulverized after a body is cremated. Why a crematorium might have leftovers, that's what I want to know the answer to. There are only a few legitimate reasons. Demonstrating the process to families or inspectors. Well, we were a college group, so that would not apply there. Some crematoriums keep sample materials for training, equipment demonstrations, regulatory inspections. These do not come from identified individuals. How could they not? Do they only take them from unidentified individuals? And are unidentified individuals cremated automatically? Unclaimed fragments. If operators remove very tiny fragments, they may be placed in a separate container or be disposed of. These are not kept to show, but they exist briefly. Artifacts that do not burn. Elder groans screaming, I got a jar of dirt. I got a jar of dirt. Artifacts that do not burn. Oh, we're going to have to turn off the Tina alarm. We're not going to be using that tonight. Artifacts that do not burn. Titanium hip joints. Dental implants. Pacemaker casings. Removed beforehand. Okay. These may be shown to families on request before disposal. Ethical crematoriums do not keep personal remains. Accredited facilities have strict rules, no retaining identifiable human remains. But it says here, demonstrating the process. They would. Crematoriums may have non-identifiable leftover bone fragments or artifacts due to the nature of the cremation process. They do not keep people's remains for display. Any material shown publicly is non-human demonstration material. Okay, here we go. That's why. It's probably non-human. Or unidentified microfragments created during system cleaning or training, which are handled under regulated procedures. Green tea has a decent amount of titanium, she says. All right. Back to the story. One such instance was in 2012 following a service for a very large man, roughly 375 pounds. I got the cremation chamber preheated while my wife set up a movie to watch, while the man was cremated. I used the elevating platform and then slid him in, closing the door to the retort afterwards, and went to sit down. About 5 minutes after I had shut the door to the retort, we heard a thump. Neither of us paid much mind, but a few moments later, there was another and another. I stood up, worried that the man may have had a pacemaker still inside him. However unlikely, as he had had his organs removed. The thumping and thudding got more hurried. We looked through the front window of the retort and couldn't believe what we were seeing. The man inside was flailing about. Both of his arms and legs were bouncing around like he was in extreme pain. Now it isn't odd to see parts move while someone is being cremated. As the limbs are being broken down, they will often contract as muscles and tendons snap. But this was most decidedly not that. The man's fingers were balled up in fists. Oh my God! And were banging against the windows, and his legs seemed to be kicking downward as if to get out. The man's mouth opened, and first groans began emanating from within, then screams. There was no way, absolutely no way whatsoever, that he could still have been alive. But for about 20 seconds, and 20 seconds is a long time, people. After we had gone up to the retort, the man inside the crematorium chamber screamed and flailed his arms and legs about. Oh my God. Green Tea says, horrifying. Welcome to JRG Mighty, by the way. That is... Yeah, how could he have been decidedly dead? Groans began emanating from within, then screams. Oh, then that guy was freaking alive. Hands balled up into fists. Verpine says, bad day at the crematorium. Oh my God. This guy's name was Nick Boddick. Tina Tomaszewski says, that is terrifying. I don't think I want to be cremated anymore. Oh my goodness. Nick Boddick. Let's click on Nick Boddick, see if we can get any other interesting tales from Nick Boddick, eh? Open link a new tab. Oh, it's a primary post by Nick Boddick and No Sleep. Well, that explains it. No Sleep is a place where the people post fictional tales. Please, No Sleep is a place for Redditors to share their scary personal experiences. It doesn't say that here, though. All stories belong to the original poster. Let's ask AI. Characterize the trustworthiness, i.e. the truthfulness of any story posted at the subreddit No Sleep. Oh, shoot. I'm not supposed to use this. This brings my volume down. Okay, let's hope it didn't work. It doesn't work the first time. Let's use the dragon method. We'll take off my comments before we submit the question. Let's hope this works. Oh, shoot, I started. And ask. Testing. Oh, I look okay still. Stories posted to No Sleep are explicitly fictional by rule, even when written in a realistic or true story style. What No Sleep requires verified by subreddit rules. According to the official rules of No Sleep, all stories must be written as if they are true. But they are not true. They are fictional horror stories. Authors must stay in character. It's a storytelling community, not a factual reporting forum. Truth value, not factual. Trustworthiness, not trustworthy. Purpose, entertainment. Why the confusion? Because the subreddit requires the authors to write in first person, maintain a realistic tone, and avoid acknowledging the fiction. This makes the stories feel true, but by policy, they are fabrications. I still hear you, Bill. Thanks, Elder, for the report. Okay, the big hand is on the 0. The big hand is on the 12, and the little hand is on the 10. So Peter's not having a live stream tonight, so I will not be directing you to his excellent channel, Dark Sayings, on YouTube, for his live show, which normally comes up at exactly this time. Instead, I'm going to just say, may God bless and protect us all. Good night.